English author Samuel Johnson said, "Memory is the mother of all wisdom." Tonight we remember some of the people we've met who have offered us words of wisdom. Funding for the Best Times is provided by... Since 1988, the H.W. Durham Foundation has been focused on aging issues, providing grants to programs like the Best Times to enrich and improve the quality of life for our older citizens. The Best Times is the only monthly news magazine exclusively for the age 50-plus reader. Your copy is free at over 200 locations, with important stories and news you don't want to miss. The Best Times is always the best. Trezevant, a life care community, a celebration of life. The responsible decision for your well-being now and in the long term. And being responsible has never been such a hoot. TrezevantManor.org. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. The new year is a time for reflection, fond memories of the past, and hopeful wishes for the future. American statesman Daniel Webster said, "Wisdom begins at the end." We think of wisdom as being synonymous with old age, and civilizations throughout history have looked to their elders for the wisdom that comes with experience. Tonight we'll revisit some of the people we've met from past seasons of the show and hear their words of wisdom. Lester Gingold is a human dynamo. He'll turn 89 on New Year's Day, but he's not stopping. He's retired twice from jobs in sales and marketing, but returned at age 72 to become editor and publisher of the Best Times newspaper. It's not only what he calls his encore career, it is his passion.
And I have people asking me all the time about, when are you going to retire? And I say, I don't plan to retire. Why should I retire? And you know, the interesting thing right now with the economy as it is, and the AARP has done research on this, the people who 15, 20 years ago said they were ready to retire when they hit 60 or 65 no longer say that. And the reason they don't, they say, what will my encore career be? What will I be doing? And the thing that's happening right now, people who perhaps retire or think they're starting for retirement, or really not in retirement, but they're ready for an encore career.
Pick up any copy of The Best Times and you'll experience the changing dynamic of aging in this country. And for Lester, every story has meaning.
Here's a guy who's a pilot. He's now in his 90s. This was taken when he was in his late 80s. And he and his wife are both pilots and still flying. We've got to remember that as our hearing may diminish, as our vision may diminish, as some of our physical capabilities may diminish, as long as we have the antennas up and we have a feeling of excitement for what's going on and a passion to serve others, not just ourselves, but to serve others, then we can. People say, why do you keep doing that business? You're not making any money out of it. It's not for making money. I've never done this for that. That's not the purpose of it. I'm an advocate for what I'm passionate about this.
After a lifetime of stories and a legacy of helping others, Lester has a philosophy of life that serves as wisdom for us all.
Life is a continued learning experience. And I continue to learn at 87, and I continue to feel inquisitive about things at this age.
I'm a Memphis First Go-Go Girl. And I'm thinking, do people even remember what a Go-Go Girl is?
There are some people who just don't act their age. Bunny Lee Wilhelm is one of them. In her 75 years on Earth, she's had about a dozen careers and remains a free spirit to this day, dancing every Friday night at the regular meeting of the Memphis Bop Club.
I think the Bop Club gives me a place for great exercise to begin with, because I'm an athlete when I hit the floor. It gives me a lot of opportunities to meet people and interact with people. It's a big family.
So what are Bunny Lee's words of wisdom? It's simple. She became a go-go girl in her 20s, and she's never stopped going.
Well, it's been easy for me to laugh this lifetime. When you're a Gemini, it's easy. You're two people in this one body anyway. So, so you just go either or, you know. Whatever life calls for, you can handle it. I'm not a couch potato, because I try to be independent. I even still cut my own grass. I got out Tuesday and cut the front and backyards.
Jo Wood is 88 years old and still mows her yard.
Of course, I used a riding mower for the most of it. I have one of my grandsons that's going to get Grandma a leather jacket and a helmet. She hot rides that thing.
Jo is a one-woman volunteer corps. She fills her calendar with volunteer dates at local arts organizations. If you've been to an event at the Orpheum or Theater Memphis or Playhouse on the Square, you may have been ushered to your seat by Jo. She's also been a loyal volunteer at WKNO, helping with our pledge drives and auctions.
It just gives me a lot of satisfaction that I've done something to help out somewhere, and maybe encourage other people, maybe my age, that do sit home. There's always some place that you can volunteer in the city of Memphis.
For those people who are bored with retirement, Jo has some words of advice.
Get out and be active. Don't sit and just, if you sit at home, everything goes bad for you. You lose all your muscles and everything and all. And the last year when I had my checkup, my doctor says, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever it is, keep doing it. But I just enjoy staying busy. I'm just love to be out with people and doing things. And hope I can continue on until the man upstairs takes me.
I first met Brigadier Gertrude Perdue at the Spirit of Giving Awards just a few days before her 100th birthday. She's been an officer in the Salvation Army for over 70 years.
I've always been a Salvationist. My parents were Army officers, and I observed them in their work, their service, their ministry, and it appealed to me very, very much.
When Gertrude turned 100, she was honored with a fundraising banquet featuring NBC's Willard Scott and her picture on a jar of Smucker's jelly.
I never thought that I would ever live this long, and I used to say, I don't think I want to live that long. But as age grew and grew, I thought, how wonderful. And right now, I think it's great to be 100.
Gertrude calls herself a handmaiden of God, and she has lived a life of service. Perhaps we can all learn from her advice.
Enjoy life. Even in this changing world, don't get discouraged about it. Just go with the flow. Go with the change. Take it because it comes, and make the best. Not only make the best, but try to make it better.
As you get older, many things change, but romance is ageless. Joy Jemison and Sam Nichols were childhood sweethearts, but after Pearl Harbor, they took very different paths. For nearly 60 years, they led separate lives until a phone call set a chain of events in motion.
About a month later, the phone rang early in the morning, and this female voice said, "Joy, this is a voice from the past." I said, "Oh, who is this?" And she said, "This is Millie Gustafson. I'm Sam's Nichols' little sister." And I said, "Oh, what happened to Sam?" And she said, "Oh, he's living out in Arizona." And I just about flipped. I couldn't believe it. We began emailing each other. And that, to me, is the beauty of our story, because we could go into depths, not only just to find out what had happened in the last 50 years, but we exchanged ideas and our philosophy of life and what was important to us. And that, to me, is what made our love such a deep one, because it was a few months later that he finally came to see me, and we were like teenagers again. When we saw each other, it was, I don't know, the old magic was just still there. Nothing had ever changed, really, even though it was a long time after.
I never forgot this lady. I never forgot that romantic early childhood period.
I really had no intention of ever marrying again, but I did want a boyfriend.
Initially, that's what she wanted from me.
But when you fall,
really married,
I didn't think it was possible at that age to fall in love. And I certainly didn't need a husband, so I didn't want one. But when you fall deeply in love, you want that commitment. You have to have it.
In 2001, after a lifetime apart, Joy and Sam were married. You probably recognize this guy. Jim Eichner has appeared on your television screen, often with me alongside him, asking you to become a member of WKNO. Jim has been a lover of art since the 2nd grade in Shreveport, Louisiana.
And I sat next to this youngster who was a prodigy in art. His name was Donnie. Donnie and I had being movie buffs in common, so we became friends, went to the movies a lot, and I would be astounded at the work that he would do with pencil, paper. Then the first time he did watercolor, it took my breath away. I thought, how can this kid do this? It was just wonderful. I mean, pictures just sprang from a page when he started on it. And I'd go to his home and he'd show some things that he had done, and I said, I've got to do this. One of these days, I've got to do this. But of course, he was so good, I was intimidated to really try it then. But I said, one day.
That day came when he took a watercolor class from Fred Rawlinson. Painting has made Jim see life and the world around him in a different way.
It's a very positive quest for beauty, and if you look for it, you can find it. They say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Well, I think in many respects that is. Something that looks to be very prosaic, you can go up close to it and look and say, look at that pattern. You know, it's a little quest that it sends you on, a positive quest, and I think that's uplifting.
Jim's artwork hangs throughout his house, and although he still considers himself a learner, his paintings have sold at several auctions, including our own Gallery 10. Jim calls himself an art junkie, and the discipline of watercolor fills his creative need.
I think that's one of the only ways you can really feed your spirit with stuff that you can do. There's such excitement. I have a little mantra that I repeat most mornings that is an acronym, GLAD. To wake up grateful, to find some way that day to love, to show love, to treat life like an adventure, the GLAD, and the fourth is the most difficult for me, and that's discipline. You do all this, but you've got to have some discipline with it. And this motivates me and keeps me going, and it's exciting to say there is no acceptable alternative to viewing this day as an adventure.
Sometimes words of wisdom aren't spoken, for actions can speak louder than words.
So it's important.
Larry Smith and Naomi Van Tol first met in a canoe, and that's a fitting place because they've both dedicated their lives to protecting and preserving our environment. Naomi champions the old forest in Overton Park, where she leads hikes through a woodland that hasn't changed in 10,000 years. Larry's passion is the Wolf River. Through his job at the Corps of Engineers and his work with the Wolf River Conservancy, he seeks to reclaim the wetlands and protect the river in its natural state. Naomi and Larry have a passion for the places that naturalist John Muir called the fountains of life.
I just feel so strongly attracted to, the natural world, and, I love forests and I love swamps, and I hate to see them destroyed. So it's important to preserve some of those places, and we can't preserve them all, but we can preserve some of them, and at least enough so that our future generations can see what we had. It would just be a real shame to lose those resources.
Looking back over the accomplishments that I have done and the accomplishments that Naomi has done, I can't speak for her, but for myself, I take a great deal of pride in the feeling that when I leave the planet, there'll be something preserved or in a park, if you will, that's there for others that I'll never know these human beings, and they're going to be there and enjoy it, and they might sit and wonder, who did this? Why did they do it? A life without these places, it's just like life without art or music.
Life without air to breathe.
Life without air, yes. It's connected with where we belong.
Leaving a legacy that will benefit others is the goal of Deanie Parker. When she was just a teenager, Deanie wrote and recorded My Imaginary Guy for Stax Records. She went on to become the first head of publicity and artist relations at Stax and helped bring the Memphis sound to the world.
Stax Records was a very, very exciting place to be, especially for a youngster. And all of us were youngsters, and that, I think, contributed to the fun and the excitement that we all experienced, that we enjoyed. And of course, we thought that the sky was the limit, and we were very naive, and we thought we could do anything, and we almost did.
The dream that was Stax Records died in December of 1975. But with Deanie's determination, a new music community has risen from the ashes of Stax. She was one of the founders of Soulsville, USA, serving as CEO until her retirement in 2007. This year, the Stax Museum and the Music Academy celebrated its 10th anniversary. The music lives on.
I will feel that I have left my legacy when out of the Stax Music Academy, the next greatest artist is discovered and launched, so that the world will once again look at Memphis and Soulsville, USA, and the corner of College and McLemore and say, yeah, they still got it going on.
Reverend Jack Conrad is making the early morning rounds of cancer patients here at Methodist Hospital in Germantown. Sometimes there's good news of someone going home, or sometimes sad news of a patient with only days left to live. Reverend Conrad visits with some of his patients, giving them a smile, some words of encouragement, and a blessing. His gentle manner and calming voice don't seem to fit with a man who, for 35 years, was a corporate executive in the manufacturing industry. How did he go from making railroad parts to making people feel comfortable in their last hours on earth?
I had had 35 years I was tired of business. I was really tired of the aspect of the way in which corporations treat people. There's things I don't particularly care for. And I had experienced too many of those things over my career. So probably if in the depth of the honesty, there was something that I wanted to change. And so as it turned out, I looked and chaplaincy found me. And I never even thought about being a chaplain. Never did.
Jack Conrad's journey to his second career was different than most. His was a calling, something he felt with his heart. But the wisdom he's gained from reinventing his life can be valuable to anyone who's arrived at one of life's crossroads.
Every last one of us, looking at our particular status, will think that if we had more, we'd be better off, and that's just not true. Who we are makes much more difference than what we think we have. Because it's not security against death. It's not security that life is going to be fair. It just isn't. But if we're secure in who we are, and we can imagine ourselves doing different things, oh Lord, what a great place this would be.
At the busy corner of Summer and Highland sits a nondescript building. In a way, it's Bob Sauter's retirement home. It's called Forgiveness House. Bob and his wife bought this building with their retirement savings and have turned it into a halfway house for paroled inmates. He's dedicated his retirement to making a difference in the lives of these men.
Here's a building that sat vacant for 5 years that now has had probably 50 men come through it since we've been open. Now, not all of them are success stories, and we've had a few disappointments to be sure, but the majority of those men are still out in the community, and the majority of those men are still doing the right thing. They haven't gone back to the old ways. So even though they haven't hit the big job or maybe married or have gotten a solid family structure yet around them, these are the success stories. These are the men that really I can look to and say, hey, you know, here's what we've been able to do.
Forgiveness House operates on a shoestring, with Bob's investment of time and money and a few charitable donations. He's just opened a second house on Macon Road with room for 7 men. Men looking for a second chance, or maybe their last chance. Men looking for forgiveness.
Again, the Bible clearly states in 2 places that in order to be forgiven, we must forgive. And I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg, but forgiveness must happen either before or after. And while these men cannot probably face, many of them face their victims, again, from a spiritual point of view, the Lord will equalize that situation. And they will be able to go back out into the community and help somebody else that's been damaged. And in that restoration will be helpful not only to that person, but also to our guys that are out there trying to make a difference in somebody else's life.
Thanks for watching this edition of The Best Times, and I hope you're a wiser person for having done so. Please join us next week, but until then, you can visit us online at wkno.org/besttimes, where you can watch past episodes of the show. And email us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. at WKNO.org. And while you're online, click on over to Next Avenue, PBS's website where grown-ups keep growing. Thanks for watching. I'm Chris Hardaway. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by Trezevant, a life care community, a celebration of life. The responsible decision for your well-being now and in the long term. And being responsible has never been such a hoot. TrezevantManor.org. The Best Times is the only monthly news magazine exclusively for the age 50-plus reader. Your copy is free at over 200 locations, with important stories and news you don't want to miss. The Best Times is always the best. Since 1988, the H.W. Durham Foundation has been focused on aging issues, providing grants to programs like The Best Times to enrich and improve the quality of life for our older citizens.